Ambition without action is one of the most painful states a human being can live in. And if you're watching this right now, you already know exactly what that feels like. You're not clueless. You're not lost. You're not someone who lacks vision. In fact, you might be the opposite. You see everything clearly. You know what kind of life you want. You imagine the money, the freedom, the respect, the lifestyle, the power, the peace, and you can picture it so vividly that it almost feels real. But then reality hits, and you're still in the same place, doing the same things, stuck in the same habits, repeating the same excuses, and that gap between your vision and your actions starts to eat you alive from the inside. That's the torture nobody talks about. People think laziness is relaxing, that it's comfortable, that it's easy. But it's not easy when you're ambitious. When you're ambitious, laziness becomes punishment, because every second you waste is a reminder of what you're not doing. Every hour you spend scrolling, procrastinating, avoiding the work, you're fully aware that you should be doing something else. That awareness turns your comfort into guilt. It turns your free time into pressure. It turns your life into a constant loop of knowing and not doing, dreaming and delaying, planning and postponing. And the worst part is, you start lying to yourself to survive it. You tell yourself you'll start tomorrow. You tell yourself you just need the right mood, the right time, the right motivation. You convince yourself that you're preparing, that you're thinking, that you're waiting for the perfect moment. But deep down, you know the truth. You're not waiting. You're avoiding. You're choosing the easy path again and again, even though you hate where it leads. You don't need more motivation. You don't need another video, another quote, another burst of inspiration, because you've had that before. You've felt that fire before. You've had those moments where you said, "This is it. I'm changing my life." And maybe you did for a day, maybe two, maybe even a week. But then you slip back. Why? Because motivation is temporary and your habits are permanent until you change them. And right now, your habits are stronger than your ambition. That's the real problem. It's not that you're not capable. It's not that you don't have potential. It's that your daily actions don't match your goals. And life doesn't reward potential. It rewards execution. It rewards consistency. It rewards the person who shows up every single day, even when they don't feel like it, even when it's boring, even when it's hard, even when there's no immediate result. Right now, you're addicted to comfort. And comfort is the enemy of ambition, because ambition requires sacrifice. It requires discipline. It requires doing things that are uncomfortable, things that are repetitive, things that don't feel good in the moment. And you've trained yourself to avoid all of that. You've trained your brain to seek easy dopamine, quick entertainment, instant gratification. So when it's time to work, when it's time to focus, when it's time to push yourself, your brain resists. Not because you can't do it, but because you've conditioned yourself not to. Every time you choose comfort over effort, you weaken your discipline. Every time you delay something important, you make it easier to delay it again. You are literally programming yourself to fail. And the scary part is, it doesn't feel like failure in the moment. It feels harmless. It feels small. Just 5 more minutes. Just one more video. I'll start later. But those small decisions stack up. They build your identity. They shape your future. And then one day, you look around and realize nothing has changed. Weeks have passed. Months have passed. Maybe even years. And you're still talking about the same goals, still dreaming the same dreams, still stuck in the same cycle. That's when the regret hits hard. Not because you didn't know what to do, but because you did. And you didn't do it. You have to understand something clearly. The pain of discipline is temporary. The pain of regret is permanent. Right now, you're choosing short-term comfort at the cost of long-term success. You're trading your future for convenience. And that trade is never worth it. You keep thinking that one day you'll suddenly become a different person. That one day you'll wake up motivated, focused, disciplined, ready to conquer everything. But that day doesn't come by itself. It's built, it's created, it's earned through action. You don't become disciplined by thinking about discipline. You become disciplined by doing things you don't feel like doing again and again until it becomes part of who you are. Your ambition is not the problem. Your ambition is actually a gift. It's proof that you're meant for more, that you're capable of more, that you're not designed to live an average life. But that gift becomes a curse if you don't act on it, because then it turns into frustration, into anger, into self-doubt. You start questioning yourself. Why can't I do this? What's wrong with me? Why am I like this? And slowly, your confidence starts to drop, not because you're failing, but because you're not even trying at the level you know you should. You don't fix this by thinking more. You fix this by moving, by taking action, even when it's messy, even when it's imperfect, even when you don't feel ready. Because action creates momentum, and momentum kills laziness. Once you start moving, it becomes easier to keep moving. But the longer you stay still, the harder it becomes to start. You're waiting to feel like doing the work. That feeling might never come. The people you admire, the people you look up to, the ones who are successful, they don't rely on feelings. They rely on discipline. They do what needs to be done, whether they feel like it or not. That's the difference. That's the gap between where you are and where you want to be. And until your actions match your ambition, you will stay stuck in this cycle, knowing you're capable of more, but never becoming more. Laziness is not who you are. That's the lie you've been telling yourself, because it feels easier to accept a label than to take responsibility. You say, I'm just a lazy person, as if it's something permanent, something written into your DNA, something you can't control. But that's not the truth. The truth is much more uncomfortable than that. You are not lazy, you are trained. You have trained yourself day after day, choice after choice, to avoid effort, to seek comfort, to delay action. And now you're living inside the result of those repeated decisions. Think about it carefully. Nobody is born lazy. A child doesn't come into the world avoiding responsibility, procrastinating on purpose, choosing distraction over growth. These behaviors are learned. They are built over time. Every time you had something difficult to do and chose the easier option instead, you reinforced that pattern. Every time you avoided discomfort, your brain made a note: this is how we survive, this is how we operate, this is what we do. And over time, it stopped being a choice and started becoming your default setting. That's why it feels automatic now. That's why you sit down to do something important and suddenly feel the urge to check your phone, open another tab, scroll endlessly, or just delay for a few more minutes. It's not random. It's conditioning. Your brain has been programmed to resist effort because you've consistently shown it that effort is something to escape from. And the more you repeat that cycle, the stronger it becomes. But here's the part most people ignore. If you trained yourself into this, you can train yourself out of it. The same way repetition built your laziness, repetition can destroy it. The same way you created these habits, you can replace them. But that requires something you've been avoiding: conscious effort. It requires you to go against your current programming, to act differently than you feel, to break patterns that have become comfortable right now. Your feelings are not trustworthy. You feel like delaying, you feel like resting, you feel like doing something easy, but those feelings are a result of your past behavior, not a reflection of what's actually good for you. If you keep following them, you'll keep reinforcing the same identity. You don't rise to your goals, you fall to your habits. And your habits right now are designed for comfort, not success. You have to understand that discipline is also a form of training. Just like laziness was trained through repetition, discipline is built the same way. It doesn't appear overnight. It's not something you suddenly wake up with. It's something you create through small, consistent actions that go against your current instincts. It's choosing to do the work when your mind tells you not to. It's choosing to start even when you don't feel ready. It's choosing discomfort again and again, until it stops feeling so uncomfortable. At first, it's going to feel unnatural. It's going to feel forced. You'll sit down to work and your brain will fight you. You'll feel resistance, distraction, frustration. That's normal. That's the old programming trying to stay in control. Most people quit at this stage because they think something is wrong. They think, this isn't me, I can't do this. But that's exactly the point. You're trying to become someone new. It's supposed to feel different every time you push through that resistance. You weaken the old habit and strengthen a new one. Every time you choose action over comfort, you prove to yourself that you're not controlled by your impulses. And slowly, something starts to shift. What once felt difficult becomes manageable. What once felt impossible becomes routine. But only if you keep going. The problem is, you've been waiting for a big change. You've been thinking that you need a massive burst of motivation, a perfect plan, a complete life reset. But that's not how transformation works. It happens in small decisions. It happens in moments that seem insignificant. Waking up and choosing to get out of bed immediately instead of snoozing. Starting your work without waiting for the perfect mood. Finishing what you started even when it gets boring. These are the moments that rewire your brain right now. You're stuck because your identity doesn't match your ambition. You see yourself as someone who delays, someone who avoids, someone who lacks discipline. And as long as you hold on to that identity, your actions will follow it. Because people act in alignment with who they believe they are. If you believe you're lazy, you'll behave like a lazy person. If you believe you lack discipline, you'll continue to prove that belief true. So the real shift starts in how you see yourself. Not in a fake, motivational way where you just say positive things, but in a practical, evidence-based way. You change your identity by changing your actions. You don't say, "I'm disciplined," and then wait to feel it. You act disciplined, even in small ways, and let that action build the belief. You show yourself proof. And over time, that proof becomes your new identity. This is where most people fail. They underestimate the power of small actions. They think it doesn't matter if they skip one task, delay one goal, waste one day. But it does matter, because every action is a vote for the type of person you're becoming. Right now, your votes have been going toward laziness. That's why it feels like who you are. But you can change that one decision at a time. You don't need to fix your entire life today. You just need to stop reinforcing the version of yourself that you don't want to be. You need to catch yourself in those moments when you're about to choose comfort and make a different choice. Not a perfect choice, not a massive change, just a better one. Because consistency beats intensity every single time. You've spent so much time proving to yourself that you can't do hard things that you've started to believe it. But that belief is built on a pattern, not a truth, and patterns can be broken. They can be replaced. They can be rewritten, but only if you stop identifying with them. You are not lazy, you are conditioned. And conditioning can be changed. But only if you're willing to go through the discomfort of becoming someone you've never been before. Only if you're willing to act differently even when it feels wrong, even when it feels hard, even when every part of you wants to go back to what's familiar. Your future is not built on your best days. It's not built on the days you feel motivated, inspired, ready to conquer the world. Anyone can perform on those days. Anyone can wake up with energy, play the right music, feel the right emotions, and decide to take action. That version of you is easy. That version doesn't require strength. That version doesn't define who you are. The real version of you, the one that determines your future, is the one that shows up when you don't feel like doing anything at all, because that's where the battle actually happens. Not when everything is aligned, not when you're excited, not when you're driven by emotion. The real battle happens in silence, in those moments when no one is watching, when there's no pressure, no deadline, no external force pushing you forward. It's just you and your thoughts. And your thoughts are telling you to relax, to wait, to delay, to take it easy just this once. That moment right there decides everything. You've been trained to believe that your feelings should control your actions. That if you don't feel like doing something, you shouldn't do it. That if the motivation isn't there, the action won't be effective. But that mindset is exactly what's keeping you stuck, because feelings are unreliable. They change constantly. One day you feel unstoppable. The next day you feel tired, distracted, unfocused. If your work depends on how you feel, your results will always be inconsistent. The people who win don't eliminate these feelings. They don't wake up every day full of energy and excitement. They feel the same resistance you feel. They have the same moments where they'd rather do something else, where they'd rather rest, where they'd rather escape the pressure. The difference is they don't listen. They don't negotiate with those thoughts. They act anyway. That's the shift you need to make. You need to stop asking yourself, do I feel like doing this? And start asking, does this need to be done? Because once something needs to be done, your feelings become irrelevant. They don't matter anymore. The task matters. The goal matters. The standard you set for yourself matters right now. Your standard is too low. You allow yourself to skip things. You allow yourself to delay. You allow yourself to break promises you made to yourself. And every time you do that, you weaken your self-respect. You start seeing yourself as someone who doesn't follow through, someone who quits when it gets uncomfortable, someone who can't be trusted even by their own word, and that's dangerous. Because once you lose trust in yourself, everything becomes harder. You set goals but don't believe you'll achieve them. You make plans but don't expect yourself to follow them. You start living in a constant cycle of intention without execution. And the longer that continues, the more it damages your confidence. But here's the truth. You rebuild that trust the same way you lost it. Through action, through keeping small promises to yourself, especially when you don't feel like it. Because those are the moments that count the most. When you're tired but you still show up. When you're distracted but you still focus. When you're unmotivated but you still work. That's how you prove to yourself that you're different every time you do what you said you would do. Regardless of how you feel, you strengthen your identity. You become someone who follows through. Someone who is reliable. Someone who doesn't depend on emotion to take action. And that identity is powerful. Because once you see yourself that way, your behavior starts to align with it automatically. You have to understand that success is not a single moment. It's not one big achievement that changes everything. It's the result of hundreds, thousands of small actions done consistently over time. And most of those actions happen on days when you don't feel like doing them. That's the reality nobody wants to accept. It's not glamorous. It's not exciting. It's repetitive, it's boring, it's uncomfortable, but that's what creates results. Not intensity, but consistency. Not motivation, but discipline. Not feelings, but standards. Right now, you're chasing motivation because it feels good. It gives you a temporary boost, a sense of direction, a moment of clarity. But it doesn't last. And when it fades, you're back where you started. That's why you keep starting over. That's why you have cycles of progress and regression. Because you're relying on something that was never meant to be permanent. Discipline is different. Discipline doesn't care how you feel. Discipline doesn't need energy or excitement. It operates on decision, not emotion. It's the ability to say, I don't feel like doing this, but I'm going to do it anyway. And that ability is what separates people who succeed from those who stay stuck. You're not missing talent. You're not missing intelligence. You're not missing opportunity. You're missing consistency in the moments that matter most, the quiet moments, the difficult moments, the moments where there's no reward, no recognition, no immediate result. Those are the moments that build your future, and right now, you're letting those moments slip away. You're choosing comfort in the exact situations where growth is possible. You're backing down when you should be stepping up. You're stopping when you should be continuing. And every time you do that, you're reinforcing the same cycle, but it doesn't have to stay that way. You can interrupt that pattern. You can catch yourself in those moments and make a different choice. You can decide that your actions will no longer depend on your feelings. You can set a higher standard for yourself and refuse to go below it, because at the end of the day, your future is not a mystery. It's a reflection of what you do consistently, not what you plan, not what you think about, not what you intend to do. What you actually do day after day, especially when you don't feel like it.